Welcome to the inaugural episode of our bonus series, Peak Fiction 101, a show where we analyze media from a broader perspective and find out just what makes peak fiction peak fiction. Our hosts today are going to be Gray the Samurai and myself, BaitZaDust. By the way, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, follow, whatever platform you're hearing this on, and join the climbers so you can keep seeking peak. Now, we're going to talk about one of Gray's favorite topics. He is a kind of an expert, and he's always been a fan of this. We're talking about villains, right? And specifically, we're talking about the great villains of One Piece by Eichiro Oda. But before we dive into that, I'd like to take a little bit of time to ask Gray, why do you like villains so much?
I think it's worth noting that in order to have great heroes and great stories, you desperately need great villains. And when you think of some of the most iconic stories, some of the most iconic tales of triumph, the antagonist of that story is usually very well thought out, usually very well written. Some have made the claim that The Dark Knight is one of the greatest superhero films ever made, and no offense, but they aren't saying that because of Christian Bale's performance as Batman.
It's true.
They're speaking specifically in reference to Heath Ledger's Joker. Performance Heath Ledger gave was so twisted, so dark, so menacing, so haunting that the triumph that Batman ended up having over Joker felt like a sigh of relief. And that's because of how well the villain was crafted. And so for me, I've always been drawn to a villain's tale, right? A villain's motivations, a villain's thought process. And in some ways, I almost feel a sense of connection to an extent with certain villains' objectives. Because sometimes a villain's objectives are not evil per se. Sometimes they may be benevolent, and the methods that they use to achieve those objectives may be a bit drastic, right? And so then the hero has to step in and save the day. But it comes at the cost of what the villain was attempting to achieve. And even when a villain's intentions are a bit more nefarious or sinister in nature, I still find them really interesting when they're written well and crafted well. And that's why I'm actually really excited today to have an opportunity to discuss villains from this particular series where Oda has actually written some absolutely incredible villains with really interesting backstories, incredible abilities, and I'm really excited to even hear some of BaitZaDust's favorite villains and for me to share some of my favorite villains as we dig a little bit deeper into these characters from the series. And I also just want to take this opportunity to share with the listeners and the viewers, if you have not explored the world of One Piece, and this is your first time kind of hearing a podcast or anything about One Piece, I strongly encourage you to give it a try, right? Like, just go through a piece of it. No pun intended. Experience kind of the glory of Romance Dawn and try out a bit of the One Piece experience. There's a reason why it receives the amount of acclaim that it receives.
And it's probably one of the biggest manga ever. It's been going on for as long as it has. The writing, the quality, the way everything kind of builds upon itself. There's a lot of people, I think, about One Piece specifically say, I can't, it's too long, right? It's like 1,000 total chapters, it's just too long, right? And they don't, you don't, when you start it, you don't really see the utility a series going on for as long as One Piece does. But when you get into it, and as you see the revelations and the callbacks and how every little piece kind of connects within itself, you value how much is there. And when you're caught up, both of we are, you are actually hungry for more, right? We're at a chapter, we're gonna be talking about everything up to chapter 1157. That's your spoiler warning. Everything's on the table. So we'll be talking about revelations that happened like a week ago from this point. But I'm I'm desperate for another chapter. I'm waiting for my next fix. Like I guess I've been caught up for a while. It's a really really amazing manga. It's peak. People say it's peak, and I'd say it's peak. I'd also like to personally give a petition to a dear friend, our other host who also reads One Piece, Supa O, who unfortunately is not. And I understand, Supo, that your favorite character was Captain Kidd of the Kid Pirates. I understand you're a huge Eustace Kid fan. I've seen your cosplays of him, and like I know like how much he means to you. But like I know how mad you were when Shanks one-shotted him. But like, come back. We're telling you this is if you're seeing this, Supo, okay, we're asking you come back, come back to the fold, catch up. It's still good. You'll make it. You'll recover. Don't be upset about what you lost. Be happy with what memories of one Captain Kidd. And we look forward to it. And if you're watching this, you're a viewer, make sure to tell Supo just how much he's missing out on One Piece by dropping the series. We just want that now. That's our formal petition to Supo.
Yeah. I mean, you're missing out on all the greatness. The Island Raw right now, you haven't even tasted it yet. We've been building up to this moment for so long.
And he could come back, maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance Kid will come back.
Yeah. I mean, anything is possible. If One Piece has taught us anything is possible. So don't count yourself out, Captain Kid Lover. There's a possibility for your heroes to return or for you to find new heroes. All things are possible.
So for today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is talking about One Piece villains, and we'll be doing a ranking where we're talking about each of our own personal rankings of our top 10 One Piece villains. So the list, my list I'm gonna say from 10 to what? Okay,
you're going 10 up.
Yeah, 10 up. Right. These are some controversial. Or should I go the other way? Maybe easier the other way.
You could go highest to lowest, but I think lowest to highest is more interesting.
Yeah, lowest to highest. So at number 10, putting Hody Jones. I know that's already controversial for many people, but Hody Jones is my number 10 pick. He's pretty solid. Extremely underrated. I think a lot of people don't get him. Number 9, my one and only movie villain. I'm putting Zephyr.
Okay. All right.
I like Big Z. I do like Big Z. Number 8, I am going to put Katakuri.
Okay, the first one that we've had on our list at the same time so far.
Okay, I think he's really solid, but like he is more of like a physical obstacle, right? Maybe a little bit emotional. He's more a physical obstacle to Luffy, and for me, he's a better version of somebody who would be on a lot of people's lists. But it's not on my list, and then I'll see if he's on your list. At number 7,
better version. Okay, all right. Yep, keep going.
At number 7, I'm going to probably put. This is controversial. Okay, I'm putting Kaido at number 7.
Yo, this is gonna sound
Kaido's
crazy.
So low?
Nah, bro. Check this out. He's my number 7 too. That's crazy.
He has like the best feats for the best fight or the best whatever, and he does have some interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
It just was not elaborated enough.
Yeah,
in Wano, right? At number 6, I'm going to put Big Mom. I think she's actually a more compelling villain than Kaido, even though she may not have direct impact. I feel like her personality, her backstory, what she has going on, the way she runs.
It's more interesting to you than Kaido's backstory.
A lot more interesting, and is devious. Her very toxic family relationships, I think, are extremely interesting. Okay. And I really like how she was utilized in Whole Cake Island. Less like how she was utilized in Wano, but I think we're gearing up for a big finale of her.
But she had a bit of memory loss.
Yeah, it's a unfortunate trope.
Trope.
At number 5, I'm going to put Akainu.
Okay.
He's a powerful force, and I know he will only do more as the story goes on. But
So he's in your top 5.
yeah, his impact in Marineford is good. I think he's the best purest distillation, especially with like the marine threat, which is so important to One Piece itself, and his commitment to the cause, right? Is, where he will reinforce to himself to be like, nope, gotta be absolute. I gotta, even at Ohara, where it's like, well, I gotta do it, completely, right? No half measures. It's very interesting. At number 4, this sort of gets dicey.
Uh,
It's dicey because my top 4 are really, really strong and interchangeable in some ways.
I'm excited to hear.
I'm gonna say number 4, I'm putting NL.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
NL's very solid. He's a very good villain. He's a very good villain. His role in Skypiea is crazy.
You have him so high.
Really? I think NL clears a lot of villains, man. I mean, NL is great. He has, of course, he's a cockiness, which a lot of One Piece villains have, admittedly. But his belief in his own like divinity, in combination with Skypiea, which I think itself just a great story. Especially when you can relate it to various, let's say, settler colonial projects across the world. Now NL is just like the final form of that, where it's gotten so out of control and it's gone such a way that not even the people who are doing the colonizing are going to benefit from it. They've created the ultimate, colonial monster, and I think that's pretty interesting.
I think NL is an interesting character as well.
I'm
just surprised who you have him above is really.
Oh, have him above. I think he's had a bigger impact in some
bigger impact to like the story and like character development, or
no, I mean like in his own story, right?
Okay,
in his own arc,
he is far more important.
Yes, right. And then some of these characters may have more stuff to do outside of their arcs or going on, but in terms of his own arc, I would say okay, he was the end all be all, right, in his own arc.
Okay,
and a lot of, and that is not the case. Feel for a lot of these guys, right?
Due in part to how isolationist his location was, in adjacent to everything else, so to speak.
I will say after NL, I'm going to put these guys can rotate.
Top 3
can rotate, right? So
podium.
I'm going to. Ooh, this pains me.
This pain me too.
I have to be honest with myself.
God.
I'm putting Crocodile number 3.
Okay. It pains me too.
He's goated. He is goated. His Alabasta is great. His plan is great. I think everything he does, his drip is immaculate.
Yeah.
His power set's cool.
Yeah.
He pushes Luffy in a really good way. Like all that stuff's great. Undoubtedly. I love Crocodile. I see you have your Crocodile sweater on.
Incidentally, bro, I forgot. And then I'm like, oh, snap. I'm already rocking my guy. This is great.
Crocodile rocks.
Bro.
But he kind of failed in a way that the next guy I'm talking about did not. And that's Doflamingo.
Doflamingo's your number 2.
Yes.
Okay. It's interesting.
Even though I prefer Crocodile to Doflamingo, I have to be honest with myself and I say, chill Doflamingo, he's better.
You say you prefer him. What do you mean by that?
I like Crocodile's like style. I like Baroque. I like Baroque works more than the family and whatnot. Better than Doflamingo. But Doflamingo is like basically the successful version of Crocodile. Right? Yeah. He's like
he took over the land successfully.
Yes. And Doflamingo is a really strong villain. He had a very strong presence through a lot of the story, like ever since Jaya. He's had this strong presence, and he does like a lot in his arc, right? And you can tell he is an evil man. You get his backstory, right? Which does not necessarily isn't excuse anything he does, but it gives a decent explanation for like
adds clarity to his venom, so to speak.
And I think he really is like he's complex, right? Out doing the thing where just like, oh well, There's never a moment where you're supposed to be like, oh, he's just a poor guy. He's that, right? And also the way Doflamingo carries himself, despite I think we'll get into this like later. We'll probably repeat these points, but Doflamingo is like a middleman.
Yeah.
Right. He's
Yeah.
not even like the quote unquote guy, but he at the same time he carries himself like he is the guy, right? And he has these dreams and aspirations of being like the guy on top.
Mhm.
And like realistically,
Mhm.
let's keep it a buck, okay? Let's
Sure.
call it a spade, right? Even if Doflamingo had lost fruit, is he really gonna make his way to the Holy Land and buy Switch of Emu? He's out of his mind, okay? If he thinks he's gonna pull that off for him. He is delusional.
He's out of his depth. He's out of his depth.
He's out of his depth.
And
Bro
against
is, I
emo.
don't want to power scale, but he's like a Yonko commander, like 2 at best, like on a good day.
Power
On a good day.
What piece?
I don't want a power scale, but like he is a category victim. Okay, he is a category
victim.
Victim. Yes.
Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Undoubtedly, because I would say Luffy with Gear 4, he needed to do a little bit of rest, but Luffy with just base Gear 4 was pretty able to like handle Doflamingo, right? And like overpower him, right?
With awakened devil fruit, which was kind of
with awakened devil fruit. And Katakuri, right? Luffy was boxing Katakuri for like 10 hours and had to do the extra form, which he already had in his back pocket.
Yeah.
Right. He had a whole other form in his back pocket. He didn't even use on Doflamingo. And Katakuri had him boxing for like 10 hours and forced him to develop like his conquerors better and forced him to develop future sight. And none of those things were for Doflamingo. Right. So
Okay.
You know,
I respect it. I respect that. I respect that perspective.
And
that's interesting.
You know, don't even get me started on Wano scaling, because once we get to Wano, the scaling just really like.
But as the story progresses, it would stand to reason that villains that come later.
Yes. Despite being in prison and being chained to a wall, he'll be stronger somehow. But yeah, Doflamingo's great, especially what he does for Law's backstory and all the other stuff. Really solid. We'll talk about it later. But like Doflamingo is really solid. My number 1 is the one, the only Marshall D. Teach.
You have Blackbeard at your top. Okay.
I got Blackbeard at ruin. I think Blackbeard is he's really amazing. Like in a story about pirates, like he is the pirate.
Essential pirate. Yeah.
Right? He's the essential pirate. He's grimy. And he has his own kind of like protagonist energy in comparison to Luffy's protagonist like energy. Right. He has his own thing. He's running around, he's doing stuff, and he's a big impact. Right. He is the cause of, Luffy's brother's death. He is, he schemed his way with Whitebeard, got Whitebeard killed. He was able to become a warlord, only to use that to go to Impel Down. He had a really, especially like the pre-time skip run of Blackbeard was crazy. A wild run that he had. And he really put himself out there, like in Marine Forward, like all the events, and he's always like doing the next thing. The thing about Blackbeard, I feel like he's just like an investment that he was paying off, because every little new detail you get about him just improves him more and more. You get a little bit more. And he's already been great. And he's already been a fantastic villain, a lot of interesting pathos. But I feel like we've only seen like maybe 30% of him. We still don't know all the bags and everything he is in bag. We still don't know how he scarred Shanks, right? We don't know what's the deal with his body. What's this? What's that? We're just finding out that Rox is his dad, right? Yeah. In all the others,
insane revelation for the record.
He's already great, both like I think it's his design, his powers, his personality, right? The way he mirrors the protagonist, but from like a darker perspective. I think that's all fantastic, and it only gets better. So, yeah, Blackbeard's more.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question before I share my list. This is just kind of guiding the flow of the conversation. Did you make your list based on villains that you enjoyed more, villains that you thought were more impactful, or villains that you thought were the best written?
I would say my scoring is going to be a mixture of all three of those things. I can't like include just like who I enjoyed more on its own, because my list would be very different. Okay, if it was just villains I enjoyed, Buggy would be on this list.
And it's so funny. I'm very surprised that Buggy was not on your list.
I love, but Buggy's great. Okay,
Buggy's
but
great, bro. The head of Cross Guild.
he stopped being a villain like a while ago, right? I don't know what he is. I'm not going to call him an antagonist. He's not an antagonist. He is a person who's caught, who is failing upwards in a way you can't manage. But he's not really doing villainous, stuff.
I don't know, man.
If anything, it's more that things are happening to him.
Yeah, but like he had a hand in the existence of a group that is fostering enmity against the Marines from civilians.
They had a comment.
Yes, and one could say it's a chaotic good, but what he's doing inherently is not just or like positive per se. He is moving like a villain. However, he is also being manipulated, unfortunately. I don't know. I found that interesting, which is why I had to ask that question, because I was genuinely expecting you to have Buggy somewhere in your top 10.
I'd love to, but like I can't. I could not in good faith put Buggy in my top 10.
Could not in good faith.
I'm not in good faith. I think once we figure it out, like the main list is, and we can talk about these other guys, like in the honorable mentions.
Yeah. Buggy deserves to be mentioned.
But of course, personal preference definitely factors in, right?
Yeah.
But also, I gotta talk about their impact on the story and how they're written, right? So, because when we're talking about villains, right? I don't like Doflamingo, right? That's because I think he's a relatively effective villain. But like Doflamingo is like a real he irritates me, right? As a character, he really gets under my skin.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's the
he irritates you.
Yeah, but it's the arrogance. Okay, it's the arrogance and the complete confidence, right? In spite of the fact that he is still fundamentally a guy who is gonna, in many circumstances, he'll act big and bad. At the same time, he'll pull you can't get me, you can't touch me. Like the second when because he uses both Kaido, the world government, the Marines, any whatever official thing to be the second there's some heat on him.
Yeah. But he has that luxury.
He does have that luxury, right? But it makes it extra frustrating for how he's the biggest dog ever. But he's not. But I think that's also compelling but then you get the reason for it. I think I think he's very well written, but he also irritates me, and I want him gone. I want that man dead. And
it's not going to be that easy.
It's not going to be that easy. So that's where
no one's going to do it.
Yeah,
no one's gonna do it.
Doflamingo, and I don't feel that way with a lot of One Piece villains. In fact, I don't think it's really any One Piece villain. I'm I want him gone. I want Doflamingo gone. Right, but most of them are I like
Don Quixote, Doflamingo, ruffles your feathers.
Wow. I want to see what they're doing, but Doflamingo, nah, get him out of here. Actually, Doflamingo comes back. I only want him to come back so you can get embarrassed.
I can't see him taking an embarrassing L though. It's interesting. It's an interesting take. I haven't heard that one yet.
I want him on the streets begging for spare change by the end of the series. Okay, that's my.
You want to turn a celestial dragon into a bomb.
So I want him on the streets being I used to be a warlord. You don't understand. I used to be a warlord.
Back in my day.
That's my dream. Dream.
Oh man, that's a sick dream, and that's sick work. Oh no. Oh, well, that's funny. That's funny. I'm going to keep my list the same because in a weird way, I also shared similar sentiments of it's a mix of things. I'm also going to start with 10 though. And my 10 is extremely controversial. Some may say that my 10 either doesn't deserve to be on this list or should be far higher than they are. However, there's a few factors in my thought process. My number 10 of One Piece villains of all time goes to Emu.
Okay.
Emu.
No, that's. Yeah. I think 10's actually a good spot to read now. I think I'll agree. I'll agree with you. Because you can say your piece.
No, man. Listen, check it out. Emu is one of the newer big players in the game, but Emu's impact is so heavy in so many places in the story, both when, you know, we had the rescue mission of King Nefertiti and like, no, like he's trapped in this room. What's going on in the room? Empty throne. Like, who's on the throne? Wait, the throne's not empty.
Mm-hmm.
Is this dude with a really tall crown on the throne? And all we see are his eyes. And the elders are bowing to this dude. Like, this guy is the real deal. And we've seen, every time that we've seen Imu take any action, the level of catastrophe has been so extreme, right? And so when you have a villain that is not new, because Imu's been behind the scenes guiding this group that's in charge of guiding this other group, which is in charge of guiding a group that we've seen a lot of, right? In the Marine Force. It's been very interesting to see how aloof Imu seems until Imu decides, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's take care of this right here. Let's do this over there. Let's do this. Like, oh, I need an army to fight in my militia. Let me just go over this little island and take these giants. Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
let me casually do like the craziest things we've ever seen in series.
I have soldiers that are doing my bidding, or their personal feelings getting involved. Let me just fix those personal feelings you have over there. Like, bro, like what an overwhelmingly overpowered ability. And it's being used by someone that like has a flower garden and like, you know, butterfly. I'm like, what's happening? I kind of love the level of like twisted energy from a villain, right? I do enjoy a character that feels so overwhelming. It's kind of the same way I feel about Kingpin in Marvel, and especially in like the Daredevil series. Just an overwhelming presence that makes the hero of the story, when confronted with this overwhelming presence, feel like they stand not even a glimpse of a chance against such an overwhelming opponent. And at this point, Luffy doesn't even know who Imu is. Like, there's just no context. But Imu seems to like have all the pieces on the chessboard and moving things the way that he wants. Love it. But I don't know enough about Imu yet to put Imu any higher.
Yeah, it's a total mystery. It's a good investment.
Yeah.
It's a good investment.
Yeah.
But still a mystery.
Still a mystery. My number 9 is, while less of a mystery, I put him at this place simply because of story impact. We got Magellan.
Oh, you know, I was thinking about Magellan. I really was considering Magellan, but I was like, you know, because he has one good bit. I'll say his impact's crazy in Impel Down, but it's like there's a certain category. I'm gonna say One Piece antagonist, right, where they may not have a lot of, well, let's say, deep character writing attached to them, but they provide a very compelling physical threat for Luffy or the Crook.
Yeah.
Right. And they have like really good fights. But they themselves may not have like the most like depth as like, you know, they're complex antagonists. Magellan is in that category.
For sure.
And there's a bunch of these guys. And that's why Katakuri is on the list, because Katakuri is like, I feel like, the best of those guys.
You don't feel like Katakuri has depth is interesting.
No, what I'm saying is, when I said the best, I mean, Katakuri does have depth.
Yes, he does. That's why I'm like...
And he has more depth, and, you know, actually, I'm just going to say the name. I'm just going to say the name, because I don't know if he's on your list or not. Rob Lucci.
Okay.
I like Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci doesn't have a lot going, you know, himself. Besides, I like to hurt people.
He's a soldier.
Yeah, he does not have a whole lot going on, but his fight's awesome. Okay,
yeah.
He helps facilitate one of the best moments in One Piece.
Quite a few of them, actually.
But he himself is not like the most compelling, well-written character. Right, Magellan, I'll say that. Right, he facilitates a really harrowing thing for Luffy, and provides some really great character moments for Bon Clay, the whole Impel Down stuff. Ivanov. Really, yeah, he does all that stuff. His entire thing is like, I'm a jailer. I want to keep everyone, you know, in the prison, and I have diarrhea. And that's his whole thing. Now, granted, what he does is very cool.
It's very cool.
He is a very awesome devil fruit.
Yeah. And the way he uses it is just like,
he's a very good threat, and he facilitates some really cool moments with that. And also when Luffy puts on the, Mr. 3 teams up with him, puts on the candle wax, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, really great stuff from Magellan.
Yeah.
But
had to team up with other criminals.
Yes.
To defeat this one man. Yeah.
He is, for me, Magellan's like an honorable mention.
Not worthy of your personal top
list.
10. I respect it. I respect it. I feel like there aren't an enormous number of characters that have brought Luffy to the brink of death. And not an enormous number. The number is very small. I think I can even count them on one hand. The number of characters that have and a threat is one thing, but to have a character main MC almost dead is rare for shonen. We don't see that an enormous number of times. But Magellan was able to bring Luffy to that point, and I actually have a couple of characters on my list, that are kind of in that space. So that's why I have him as high as I do. I think Magellan, while he did lack a bit of depth, I think even his interaction with Bon Clay and just like a few of the different things that we've seen throughout the story, I think are noteworthy for why Magellan is so high, because of the situations that happened in Impel Down. There were many of them that were moving the story quite a bit. He played a really big role in a lot of that. So he's my number 9. And then we take a pretty big leap from my 9 to my 8. Pretty wild, but I no other way I can do it.
We both have category, right?
No.
Oh, what do we both have at 8?
I have Big Mom at 8.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yo, you have Big Mom at 8.
I have Big Mom at 8. And I think Big Mom is very interesting. Lilin, we got a lot of backstory for her, and there's a lot of interesting pieces about her character. I just don't feel she is fearsome, but she doesn't feel villainous to me. And here's where the divide for me comes. So when I think of villains, I think there has to be a level of sinister. She almost has like this sense of like childhood wonder, and she's strong enough so that the things that she just wants, she can simply have. And her threat more so is related to when people don't want her to have the things that she wants and how she responds to it, right? Even though she's Big Mom, yes, and she is a mother of many children, her character for me is not higher because she doesn't give off the feeling of an evil person to me. She has, I can't.
I feel like the real villainy comes in the margins. Not necessarily what she does all the time, right? Because I don't think she necessarily presents herself as like, I would say like super like evil or whatever like other characters do.
There's evil people on my list.
She's definitely malicious,
Yeah.
Outwardly malicious. I think it's little things, she does in the off moments. It's the moments where she is like, shaking down somebody like a mob boss, right? It's the moments where, like I would say even how she's treated like Pound.
Yeah.
After her, his kids are born, she like tosses him out into the street.
Poor dude, man.
Yeah.
That gets no love.
It's there's like, but there's all kinds of, because I think there's all kinds of small things she does where she is.
But it's like childish. It's not even like.
And no, I think there's definitely like an older kind of mature, way about her. Not with everything, but like, and I think also Whole Cake Island, right? A lot of it she was, especially after like the wedding party, was in a more regressed state. But even before that, right, when she's just doing her, her movements and stuff, yes, it may be for like, okay, she wants food, she wants this or that, but the way she goes about it, she will be like, cruel, and she will be scheming, and she will like do all this extra stuff, right, to get what she wants. Even the fact that she set up basically the entire thing was she set up the Vinsmokes to get killed, to all get executed at the wedding, right? So she could just take all their stuff. Well, it's like crazy, and that's just something she does. Right?
Yeah.
She just does it. And I think there's so much casual cruelty that she does, that she employs in her empire, to the point where even her own children, if they are in their way in the slightest, she'll just kill them. right? And I think that is what kind of like gets me with a villainy, because something she does I feel like is almost instinctual, right? Or it's like is that kind of more child. And I don't have a problem with a villain that's like an agent of like chaos, right? It was like a because she feels like more of like a force of nature in some parts.
Yeah.
But the stuff she does have control over, she does have this like extremely casual cruelty about her. I think that's very compelling, and especially when you get like her younger years, right? Either see flashbacks or like we're seeing for the Rock's pirates, everything's. She just has a lot of like, yeah, whatever, extremely casual like cruelty, extremely casual. Yeah, okay, give me, basically put the money in the bag. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Kind of like energy to her. And I think that's like pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that I like the way you described it, right? Casual cruelty. Every time I see her character and think of the way that she behaves, it almost feels like the things that she does that do seem malicious only because something is in her way, right? Or something is preventing her from getting what she wants and doing what she wants. And like, while her end goal sounds like when you hear it, what is her main objective? It's like unity sounds about right, but like, and justifying the means is like not applicable in Charlotte, bro. Like, and justifying the means, like the means are just insane. But because the end, her end goal to me is not as villainous as some other people on my list, I can't put her higher. She is extremely strong though. She is up in terms of strength. And it's funny how some of the strongest characters on my list are so far towards the bottom.
I know, and like many of the characters are. It's funny. A lot of characters are. I know. I would say Big Mom is extremely, I think, undervalued, especially in the power scaling or agenda community, because I don't think she necessarily looks the best all the time. She's so strong.
She's so strong.
She's so strong. Like, she's so cracked.
It's ridiculous.
And, like, I am sorry. I gotta do like a PSA, public service announcement. Today. Big Mom did not lose in Wano. I know that's what it's. Big Mom did not lose. She was not unconscious. She got a Mickey Mouse ring out victory, but she did not lose.
Mickey Mouse ring out victory. Come on,
if
bro.
they were,
she got flipped off on. Come on, bro.
Okay, but if they fought on like level ground, they would get smoked. Okay, Law and Kid are getting smoked if they fought on level ground, right?
Okay.
If there didn't happen to be like a Rube Goldberg machine setup of bombs that like blew her out the side of Onigashima,
we talking conditionals.
Then she, but like
if it was on level ground,
it would be one thing. It'd be one thing. Okay, it'd be one thing if Law and Kid set it up. If Law and Kid like were like, oh, actually, we know these bombs are here and set it up. But no, it was a Rube Goldberg machine. Just so happened to launch Big Mom fully conscious. And I would say what Law did do was use the silence ability. Right, to stop her from calling your homies. That is something smart that he did. I'll give him credit there. But she had more fight in her, and her bag was not fully empty when she was thrown into lava. And she'll be back, is what I'm saying.
I'll be honest, man. Like one of those other emperors, he did a number. The fact that Captain Kidd, with just Law present, was able to beat another emperor, that's where she's at on my list. That's all I could say. That's all I could say, man.
It is, but I'm just saying.
It is what it is, baby.
And when Big Mom comes back, it's my protection. This is BaitZaDust's, prediction right here, market.
Bro.
It is August 18th, 2025, 10:17 p.m. Okay. Big Mom will return. Okay. She'll get a power boost, and she'll be fused with Kaido. Okay.
Fuse is crazy.
Fuse with Kaido, as in
Trunks and Goten.
Like maybe I think it's more eating Kaido for sustenance, but
that's crazy.
Kaido is a very powerful.
Eating Kaido is crazy. No
Kaido's
way,
very
buddy.
powerful being, but I think she will have absorbed or merged with Kaido's soul, and there will be monstrous figure.
Oh, so
It's
you're
my
saying
prediction.
she's gonna sun Kaido basically?
No, because I don't think Oda would write like that. But I think
Yeah.
Kaido on Death's Door, right, might be a desperation there. It might be a bit, and it might be a thing where she's like, all right, I'm gonna take the soul, right? But Kaido is so strong-willed. He's so strong-willed that even though she might be able to take the soul, it will not be a thing where it is like, oh well, I just have this now, right? I think it might be a thing where, because of his strong will and because of his whatever, they're kind of fused together.
It's an
And it'll
interesting
be
take.
a
It's an
very
interesting take.
far
I'm gonna, hey man,
it's my prediction. It's my
these are
prediction.
your predictions, and I'm not mad at your predictions. I just don't see them reaching fruition. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not in the cards.
Anything's
It's
possible.
not in the cards. I can't see Big Mom doing that to Kaido, bro. She was talking to Kaido on that island top, you're really that guy. Like, there's no way you're gonna let Luffy down you with a red rock just because he learned a new ability. That's not happening. Like, you really like that. And it wasn't like I'm bowing to you. It is, I consider you an equal. Like, don't lose to this guy. That's ridiculous. So I think there's some things to be said. There's some things to be said for Big Mom's point on this ranking. But at number seven, I got the big dragon Kaido, man.
Yeah.
On number 7 is Kaido. And respectfully, Kaido and his abilities, I feel like I put like his strength was above Big Mom's. But not only was his strength higher than Big Mom's, I feel like hearing his story and the story of his child and the way he treated his child, the way he treated the land he arrived on, the way that he collaborated with the Orochi, the slavery plans, like all these small pieces, right? Like the way that he used Doflamingo, the way that he used all of these different things and all these different pieces. He was not only strong, he was sinister, he was calculated. It was beautiful. It was so nice. And he would not drop as an enemy.
Yeah.
He was extremely strong and extremely durable.
I'd make the argument almost too durable
Yeah.
for what the story that Ono wanted to tell. Almost as if it went on for far too long.
One could say that,
One could
right?
say.
One
One could say.
I mean, like, wow, bro. Like, how much can you take, bro? Like, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, he absorbed an insane amount of damage and like the capabilities of his power. Like, we saw him early in that Wano storyline, like whack Luffy so hard, and Luffy's strongest form at that time that he blacked him out with one solid hit, blacked him out.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think, Luffy's done all this training, he's done all this work, he's doing all this stuff, and he gets a solid hit on him early in that fight, declares he's going to be king of the pirates, and then he proceeds to have a very long day against Kaido. Like, I love it, bro. I love a villain that has sinister intentions, strong enough to back him up, makes nothing easy for the main character, brings the main character near death's door, because that's what he did. He's another one. So far on my list, I got 2. I got Magellan and Kaido. Both of those guys brought Luffy near the end of his rope, right? Like, almost in the end of his rope energy. And to be honest, if Luffy didn't interfere, like, Kaido's plans, in my opinion, grand as they are, would have went so smoothly, no interference. He could have done whatever he wanted. No one was going to fight against Kaido. Shanks had no interest in going up against Kaido, right? So, like, you had this scenario where there really was no counter to this man, except for these very extenuating circumstances. And that's why my Kaido's number 7 for me.
Okay, so my issues with Kaido are, well, everything he says is true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything he says is true on paper. But the issue of Kaido is I know what he wants, I don't know what he actually wants. Okay, Kaido's confusing to me for how he's written. Okay, he's both a character that's like, I want to have the strong fight. I want to have the greatest battles. Da, 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 da. Oh, Stride, I love fighting with you. It's like da da da. Right? He says all these things.
He's attempted to die multiple times.
He's attempted to die. He was jealous. He's quote unquote jealous of Blackbeard. Right? And yet, Mr. Mr. I want the greatest battle in the world. I want to do this and that. I mean, I never I know there's a lot of history in between. You can say people can pull up quotes, yada yada. But like, I don't see Kaido pull up to a lot of places. Um, despite saying like, "Oh, I won all these battles." I know he wanted to pull up the Marineford and Shanks, stopped him. But like, he talks a lot. He talks a very big talk about, I want me this battle, but he was not above using Orochi to scheme his way into and take Lionel that way, right? To put Odin on the bench for like 5 years. He was not above that, and even though he said that he had a problem with the witch who had the clone fruit, tricking Odin so he could like hit him in the back of the head, and he's like, oh, I didn't like that, so I killed her. He never he It wasn't like he said, okay, Odin, that was a bad run. You know what? I'll let you heal up, but let's box it out for real. He didn't do that, right? And like he wants to have his crew, and he wants to do all this like different stuff, and like have these conquerors like with him, and do all this stuff. But I feel like there's an element of him that just doesn't like. I guess maybe it's a pragmatism, right? But for a person that goes on so much about how sad he is and how it's like, oh, I'm so lonely at the top. What can I do? I don't feel like he tries that hard to alleviate the situation, right? He knows where Garth lives. If he
But
really,
like, he's an
I'm just
emperor, bro.
what I'm saying is, if Kaido really wants smoke, he knows where the admirals are.
Yeah,
But
but it
you,
goes
you
against what
know,
he's trying to do, bro. He can't
he,
have
he
the Navy invading what he's got going
he
on.
knows where Mary Chua is. If you truly want smoke, he knows where these places are. But he's like, oh no, I'm building the ultimate war. You don't understand. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so cool when my big war happens. It's gonna be so awesome, guys. Just you wait. Um, and when you get to his backstory, right, it's a little generic, right? It's a little generic. So it's a little like, oh, he was strong as a kid, and he was strong when he was older. And he was captured a little bit, and he was also strong. And then he went to Rocks, and then we're finding more and more that actually he was a little bro of Rocks, the Rocks crew. He was the intern. He was the
The
staff intern
intern,
on the Rocks crew. You know,
intern Kaido is hilarious.
yeah.
We need him in like a.
But I'm Ty. He was happy to be there. He got the Rocks crew, like he got the Rocks on his resume. But it's just like there's a lot of I would say fraudulent activity on Kaido's thing for a person who's like really talks about how much he is about that life, and he's gonna do this and that. I don't feel like he always delivers on what's he gonna do. Right, which is the strangest part when you look at how he's written and then how he's portrayed like physically, right, in the series. It's like, okay, well, Kyle, if you can do all this stuff, then how come you don't like how come you don't really do nothing? Why are you doing all this like politicking and this and that, right? To like quote unquote build up an army, for your big battle. I don't know. I feel like he's been sitting on like a mountain of resources and soldiers and all this stuff for a very long time. But yeah, that's just how I feel about Kaido. I like him, I do, but I just feel he's a little bit underserved.
That's an interesting take, and I don't disagree with it. I think there are some elements of his character that he does desire a good fight. More than he desires a good fight, though, he has objectives that are to him more important than a good fight. When a good fight presents itself to him, he's usually very excited for it. But he's not just like, all I want to do is fight, and that's like my only objective. I just want to find strong people and fight them. That's not his whole MO. That's part of his MO, but it's not his whole MO.
I still want to know how Shanks stopped him in Marineford.
I think, I don't know. We don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know.
It would have to be a conversation because
Yeah, it has to be a conversation. No hands were thrown. No hands were thrown. No hands were thrown. Like too dangerous if hands are thrown. Too dangerous. Nah, it's a solid. This is good. This is good. I think you had your Kaido at 7 too, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. My 6 is where we start to get into the territory of people doing whatever they want to do and kind of staying true to their principles. Katakuri is my number 6.
Mm.
Katakuri and the mochi mochi fruit and the way he's viewed by his family, his siblings, his mother, and even the Marines, right? Based on his bounty. And during the fight with Luffy, viewed by Luffy, I think he presents a character of chivalry that I hadn't really seen a ton of in this show. When the story moves, we get points in that fight, and the fight is very long. I was like, this is one of the longest fights I've seen so far in the show. Felt like it just kept going. I hadn't seen anything yet because the Kaido fight hadn't happened yet, but it was a long fight, man. It was going at it, man. It was going at it. But I love Katakuri, bro. I even love like the donut scene where he's singing about donut. I was like, this is great, man. What
Yeah, I
a
don't know.
great character. I haven't read the latest chapter.
Latest chapter. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say anything latest chapter, but I don't know why Katakuri is so scared to be a goofball. We discover a lot of the old gen were actually all goofballs.
Yes. But he
Are very corny.
part of his MO is
Yeah, I got an aura for him.
I got an aura for him. And people around me think I'm cool. And they have this view of me. And I need to live up to those expectations. And I'm willing to go to extreme measures to make sure that nobody feels or thinks differently of me than what I portray myself to be. And if somebody ends up finding out who the real me is, they can't live.
It's a lot of toxic masculinity.
Yeah, bro. Who just loves his sweets, bro? Like, yo.
It's okay, bro. You can be a little fruity. You know, you can be a little fruity if you want to.
This dude's crazy, bro. And the way that he uses his fruit and his fighting style is just like, it's so tough, bro. His fight was fun to watch. His abilities are really impressive to see. I was blown away. The fight was a work of art. The way he protects his family, how protective he is of them. He's a man who has a code of ethics. And when his enemy was injured without his knowledge, he took damage to himself to match what his enemy was going through. And I'm just like, nah, bro. This dude, like when that happened, I always said to myself, this guy is a villain I like, not because he's a bad guy, but because he's a man of he has a code. He has his own personal code, and he doesn't deviate from that code. And I respect that a lot.
And you could even argue that to the extent Katakuri let himself lose. You know,
one could say that.
You know, he let himself lose, or maybe if he could have maybe pulled it a little bit more in the tank, you know. But he was able to.
He put a lot in the tank, though, bro.
He put a lot in the tank, but I think he respected Luffy so much that he was able to, like, you know, let himself be himself, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was it felt good. That fight felt good to watch. It was a good feeling fight. I enjoyed that one a lot. And because I enjoyed it so much, he actually has trumped the two emperors on my list.
Katakuri is our favorite 48-year-old unmarried stay-at-home son. You know, that lives with his mother.
He's the go to the 48-year-old stay-at-home son.
It really is.
No one tops Katakuri in that category for sure. My number 5 is extremely controversial. And you know what? I have to give a shout out to an old coworker of mine, right? Who, when we talked about this, for him, this person is his number 1 One Piece villain. For me, it's my number 5. But that's because I gave it more thought and I gave it more focus. And I thought about it a bit more. And I was like, I understand his perspective. I can't put it any higher than 5. So I know you listening to this. I'm going to link you to this pod, bro, so you can hear it again later. But he made it my number 5. And that's Kanjuro. So
all right.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So there are elements to a trader that, to me, are always very exciting. I'm sorry if we have any My Hero fans that are listening to this pod. If you are, skip ahead 10 seconds because I'm about to spoil something in My Hero. In My Hero, there's a trader who we find out is never stopped twinkling. And when we discover who the trader is, take a long time to build up to this moment. The end result is the trader is ashamed that he's betrayed his friends and the people that he loves and the people that he cares about. He was almost forced into this role as a traitor. And he feels like he has no out, and his family has no out, and they're being held hostage. It's a horrible situation. And he leans on his friends. He trusts his friends. And even though he has to face penalties for being a traitor, he's able to make his way out of that situation, right? Kanjuro he's almost like the opposite side of that coin, right? We have a person that betrayed people that trusted him and cared about him, but not because he was being forced into it. Not quite. He just had a loyalty towards someone, and he was happy to fulfill this duty as a traitor. And he played his role so incredibly, to the point of there were Easter eggs that Oda dropped in of, if you pay close enough attention, you might notice why Kanjuro's the traitor. Like him being really bad at art, but he's using his non-dominant hand.
No, that was great. I would say, let's talk about it. The Conjuro twist, actually, I think is like one of the best twists like ever, because
good.
It is like because it kind of hits you both. Like it both makes sense, but it's kind of hits you out of nowhere, because like he felt like a gimmick character. Because like Oda loves gimmick characters. He loves gimmick characters. There's tons of characters who have like silly little gimmicks, and his gimmick being, oh, I have the art. I this fruit that lets me, bring art to life, but I can't draw. He's like, wow, salute Oda. That's actually a really funny idea. It's a really fun idea, and provided like fun little bits. Like with the dragon, doing that. But they're then revealed being like, I could draw actually the entire time. I'm a master artist. I'm the best of the best. Like I can perfectly do this. It's just I drew wrong on purpose to like delay or obfuscate or do like different things to like throw wrenches in plans. I think is like a super genius twist. Like it was extremely well done, and it's one of my favorite bits that Oda has ever done.
Yeah. And then to hear his backstory and kind of like decipher how he felt about Orochi and how Orochi was able to utilize him for his own gain in a very intelligent and strategic way. And even the fight where he actually gets to let loose. And like, there's just so many great moments when we finally see who Kanjuro really is. And it feels so good when you see like, he's been trusted by his allies for so long, and they believe in him and they trusted him. And then he just flips and you're like, whoa, like, where's this coming from? Find out that's how he felt the whole time, bro. The whole time he was traveling with them, all these activities with them. He was next to them all the time. In his heart.
Bro, he was going to die with them. He was going to die with them, like in the Odin, like, the boiling Odin pot.
That's how far he took it.
Yeah, no, that's what's great. And also, even though we did have to give up the bit of Contra drawing bad, right, which is an excellent bit, Oda was able to provide an even greater bit, and that's when the Contra betrayal happens, and it turns out it was foiled, because everyone had misinterpreted Kinemon's signal that he wrote. Everyone was like, wow, Kinemon, the master genius, you figured it all out. And we went to a different location. That was an extremely good bit.
Yes, it was so good, man. I genuinely enjoyed so many moments in Wano. That is probably my top 3 favorite moments of Wano. Just absolutely exceptional, which is why Kanjuro has made it into my top 5. He was a very big person for those moments.
I have no idea how we're going to synthesize this list. I don't even know what's possible. But, we'll try. We'll try to get the peak of fiction,
This will be tough, man. This will be tough.
But okay.
We'll work through it.
Number 4.
Got Akainu as my number 4. Goes without saying, man. Speaking of donuts. Horrible. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry. It's a terrible joke.
Hey, man.
But
we want to neglect that. Akainu did kill the main character's
brother by punching through his body, bro. That was brutal. But then he ends up fighting his teammate permanently altering the ecosystem on an entire island
Mm-hmm.
in the aftermath of his fight, becomes the head of the Navy, and then uses his authority to dominate pirates in all possible ways he can. Like, incredible character, bro.
He gave Luffy's like Scar.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, Akainu's in a lot. And also even now, like, I don't necessarily know what Akainu's story is gonna go, right? I think it's very possible that he does a breakaway from Marines or the world government. Just because he's so dedicated to his own absolute justice.
Yeah, he hates pirates. But
That
I think
he might become dissatisfied with the world government.
I think that might happen, maybe, but I don't think the world government will side with pirates.
No, here's what I think. Right, here's my little here's a patented BaitZaDust theory. And this is not necessarily my own. This has been like, kind of spread around by other people. We think about the 20 kings, right? Who the original 20 kings were and what they were doing and whatnot. There's a very good chance that maybe, in a way, the 20 kings were like, the original war government guys were their own pirate crew. That's a real possibility. It's a very real possibility because there's a pattern, right, in One Piece of basically pirate crews becoming like the government of a land, right?
Yes, they have a desire
and
to
having official control, right? We that Doflamingo, or even like NL, right? He's not necessarily from Skype, right? He is like in his own way the leader of his own crew that took over Skypiea. It happens all the time, right? And once a crew is, once they become recognized as like as the government that. And I think we might be gearing up for a reveal of like the nature of the world government. And I could see a thing where when Akainu finds out that this is a sham, and he finds out like the world government flag actually is a Jolly Roger. Right, the world government flag was actually just a Jolly Roger that got converted into a flag. Right, I think he might be like, actually, this all gotta go. This all gotta go. Everyone but me and the Marines I trust is a pirate, as far as I'm concerned. And we can have like a really legendary crash out, because he already does not like the world government. He does not like the Celestial Dragons. He does not like the Elders. Right. And I think if he finds about Emu, right, even discarding like the world government being like a pirate organization, I think finding about Emu could really be the final nail in the coffin, where kind of shatters his perception. But his perception turns from, when someone like Akainu finds that he's been lied to, his reactions will be very different. Someone else that might be shattered, when their perception's shattered, right, they might be like, oh no, what have I done? Or I have to leave, or I have to find my own thing. But Kainu's the kind of guy, the way he's established, the way his villainy, progresses. He's the kind of person that can be like, okay, all right, everyone else is wrong. I'm right. I'm justice is absolute. Everyone else, that's wrong.
But he's the leader. Like, he's the man in charge.
That's what I'm saying.
He has people under his watch. You think he'll walk away?
I don't think he's gonna walk away. I think he's gonna lead the real schism between Marines and the world government. Because especially the way everything's leading up. Right?
Yeah, sword.
With the sword, not even sword, but with Vegapunk, and the message, the fact that the world's gonna flood, right? It could be a real situation where it's like, wait a second, oh, there's a king, right? There's a king. These guys, this authority is not worth anything. They're gonna leave us all to drown, right? In the ocean when the water floods, right? Actually, this whole thing is wrong. I have to burn it all down. Right. I'm gonna lead the Marines. I'm gonna break the Marines off from the world government, and we're gonna be our own organization, because we're the only ones who can actually do justice. Everyone else has to either burn or get in line.
Interesting. That would be interesting.
That's where I see his character going. Is I think he's gonna be a thing where it's just like, oh, like you rejoin the program, or you get a lava fist, and that's it. Like, he goes on like full dictator. Basically.
Interesting.
A good portion of Marines follow him, right? And maybe the split is between Akainu's Marines and like Sword.
Yeah, because it's an internal discord. Yeah.
But I think by the end of the story, Marines will split from the world government, because it's the only way. Because I think Otis
I
still
think
wants.
you might be right on that one.
Otis
may be
still
with you on
wants to
that one.
play the game that the Marines are a misguided but good organization, which I have doubts. But I think Otis still wants to believe that, right? And love characters say, Marines aren't all bad. And I think the only way you can have like a good version of the Marines that can still exist after the world government is like destroyed and after the Red Line's destroyed and all that stuff is you have to have an organization that's separate from the world government. I think it's just gonna.
That's an interesting take. I could see that happening. I could see that happening because the story can only go in so many different directions, right? And it wouldn't shock me if
It's like if we're supposed to end with however in the future and Kobe's gonna be the admiral that leads the Marines. They can't be the Marines that are connected to the world government. Right. And
okay, I
it
understand what you're
can't
saying.
be and it also can't be Marines that Akainu leads, right? It's gonna have to be like a new thing, probably based off of Sword, but it's gonna have to be like a new kind of organization. And I can see a thing where if there's already a schism, maybe you have Akainu and his branch Marines and go out in a blaze of glory. And then Kobe and his new Sword Marines are the ones who are like able to like kind of rebuild from the ashes into like a new, better organization.
Marines. Yeah. It wouldn't shock me, especially based on Kobe's dream. We'll have to wait and see.
Have to wait and see.
All right. So top three, my number three has to be Crocodile. And I know it's a crazy take because I'm wearing the shirt, like why isn't he your number one? I have to give the Crocodile credit though. I feel like anyone on your podium for your top three characters or your top three in any ranking system is like these are the peak of the peak, right? For me, there's so many amazing moments of Crocodile, but he's on that handful I've been talking about during my ranking of who almost like brought Luffy to the point of near death. Right? There's this iconic moment of an early fight of Luffy versus Crocodile, and Luffy can't touch the guy. Just have no way of touching him. Right? Punches go right through him. He's staring at him like that's all you got. And then there's a scene where he essentially guts Luffy with his hook. Just cute. I'm just like, man, main character dead this early? Crazy. Insane. Can't believe One Piece ends like this. I was like so convinced that it was done.
Yeah.
I was so convinced it was done. Cause like how you come back from this, bro? Like he's done. And there are moments where, Luffy is trying to fight him and he's got like the water and he's doing all these things to thwart him. And I'm like, okay, that's a fair thing that you've concocted is like a strategy to beat him, and the blood on the fist is able to harden the sand so that way he can hit him, and like all that adds up. Like I get it. Crocodile's strategy of using Nico Robin to get understanding of the poneglyphs was one of the earlier mentions that we've heard in the story of the poneglyphs, meaning Crocodile's main objective was bigger than we may have originally understood at that point in the story. I think as the story progressed and we look backwards, or if you rewatched One Piece and so you caught up and I want to rewatch the story, you understand what Crocodile was really doing, right? He got this person that everybody feared. This person was from an island that was destroyed because what they were doing was forbidden. And this pirate took over an island to essentially become leader of the island. And he sowed seeds of dissent, like real strategic plan, like had the people fighting each other, like destruction in the
Using
streets.
his ability and the whatever to basically dry up the skies and stop water from raining. Yeah, it was very devious. And the sauce that him and his crew had was immaculate. And I'll say, not everyone in Baroque's works is a winner. They're not all winners.
They got some winners, bro.
They got some winners. Mr. One, Mr. Tuflon Clay, of course, Nika Robin, Miss All Sunday,
Mr. Three, bro.
Mr. Three, all the code names, all the different the fact that like a Mister and the holidays, even like Miss Golden Week and stuff. They're all pretty great. And
They're pretty great, man.
Mr. Three stocks just keep going up and up.
Stonks.
It stonks girl because Mr. Three, ultimately, no matter how strong Dory and Broggy are portrayed, they are fundamentally at the end of the day still Mr. Three victims,
It's
and
true. It's true.
it
It's
just
true.
is what it is. It is.
He's really that guy, and it's funny because he has all these people under him, and for a while we didn't really see who Mr. Zero was. Like
Yeah,
it was like this mystique. And they built up to his arrival in a really thoughtful way. And when we finally see this guy, like he got the giant crocodile swimming in the aquarium behind him. He's got all the water he could want. And it really settles in as the viewer of how does he have an aquarium in the middle of a drought? Wait a minute.
yeah,
Tactical genius, like everything real calculated. Yeah, now Crocodile is easily, it's so crazy, bro. Like, I feel like my top 3 One Piece villains are also some of my favorite villains in all of fiction.
for sure.
Um,
They're
like
really great.
everyone in my top, bro, like everyone in my
The
top
fact
3 is in my top 10.
let's just pause. Let's just pause for a minute here and say
Okay.
the fact that we do a top 10 One Piece villains, right? In some series that struggle to have like one or two compelling villains, right? We can pull out 10 and still have differences in our 10,
Yeah, with a
and
bunch left over, a bunch we didn't
leave
touch.
a bunch on the cutting room floor. And that's crazy. That's
That's
like
crazy, bro.
that is crazy.
It's
One Piece
insane.
is something special.
Yeah. If you haven't started watching One Piece, what are you doing with your life? You need to get on the way.
Mr. Sign, and this also, once again we got a petition. Super O, come back.
Super O. Don't be a coward. Return to the fold.
So we got I would also say with like specifically what I like so enjoy about Crocodile is he does also have this backstory of like losing horribly to Whitebeard, right?
Yeah.
Losing horribly to Whitebeard and that kind of like being like, all right, well, hey, I'm not gonna be able to cut it in the new world, so I'm gonna go, run a scam basically on the grand line. And there's a few characters like that, especially all
Yeah.
throughout the Grand Line, like Moira, um, or like even as far back as some like Arlong and whatnot, who are like, well, I couldn't crack it over here, but I'm gonna, carve my niche and bully people. Um, but it adds to make him more compelling. I will say Crocodile has gotten some of his edges sanded off um, over time. Because even though he still is like villain quote unquote, he doesn't have that same dog um, in him that he had in Alabasta. He's not as evil, or as petty or as whatever. And I think he's almost become a like I think there's parts of it. There's even parts in like between like Marineford and They Fall Down specifically, where like Luffy's like like oh Crocodile eating all the stuff, and Crocodile's like you still on that old stuff? Like that was hey, everybody makes mistakes. I mean oh man that was that long ago. I mean that was a long time ago. Why are you still talking about that?
It's old
And
news.
yeah, it's old news. I think like even if like Alabasta and whatnot, I post Alabasta, Oda's kind of made Crocodile. I'm gonna say I'm not sympathetic, but he's made him a little more likable and a little like he has less of that edge. Because even now with like he's running Cross Guild and he's probably like obviously the brains behind the Cross Guild's operation, and it's like it's a money making endeavor, but it's not the same as trying to take over a country or like build Pluton or whatever. And he may, we might see he may even fall under the sway of one clown, given the right motivation. So it's
We'll
just not
see.
a.
I
It's
I don't
just
I don't know if Buggy will turn him. I think he'll be down for the ride though. I think Crocodile, he might be down for the ride.
I think Buggy might provide motivation for some of these guys to like do something. I
He
think
provides a lot of motivation for the pirates
yeah,
and cross for the
but I
people
think
across.
it'll be a thing where it's just like because the last time we saw them more or less was Buggy being like, hey, I don't care if you kill me, but I gotta say my piece. I gotta stand on business and be like, you know, we all went to the seas to find the One Piece, and we're running around here not finding the One Piece. What's up? And I don't know, maybe they'll do something because Crocodile's dream is to become a pirate king. Right, it is. If you are a cover story enjoyer, we can see when all of them were able to see what the dreams are in the Baroque works. His dream is to be the Pirate King still. So who knows? Who can say?
He doesn't want, like, he is so interesting, his character, especially in the current iteration, because you need One Piece to be Pirate King. So you have to go after the thing. But he's actively telling everyone, like, no, like, stop. None of that. So I'll be interested to kind of see what his current motivations are. But I think overall, I find his character extremely interesting. And I find his story extremely enjoyable. And I think he moves with a level of determination, and he has a very sinister nature that I find refreshing. I'm quite refreshing. Speaking of sinister nature, many people would have this character as their number one, but he's my number two. I call my number two. I got Blackbeard.
Yeah, I knew it. I figured the split was gonna be the number one, number two is gonna be Blackbeard and Doflamingo.
Yeah, Blackbeard's that guy, man.
He is. He
Blackbeard's
is.
that guy, man. I very rarely come across a villain that has not crossed hands with the main character while still having so many interactions with him, as I have seen between Luffy and Blackbeard. And I don't know if Blackbeard will end up becoming the final boss of the story, or if he will become the final sub boss of the story. Like, if it's going to be like, this is the big bad, but before you get to the big bad, you got to deal with the second biggest bad, and that's happens to be Blackbeard, or if Blackbeard will end up becoming the final obstacle that Luffy has to surpass. But I think we're getting to a point where it's pretty clear that Blackbeard will not appear as the main confrontation to Luffy until much later in the story. Like, I think we're building to a point where Blackbeard almost doesn't want to confront Luffy yet. In a way that reminds me almost of the way that Shanks is avoided Luffy, because he's got so many other things going on, right? But like what he's done, bro, Pirate Island, the stealing of Whitebeard's powers, the way he got his fruit to begin with, backstabbing the person that's his lieutenant with the betrayal of Ace.
And the fact that you have like one of the strongest characters in the series basically running around hyping him up, using every chance to be like, you gotta watch out for this guy. Like I know he seems like, like he's just like a schemer or whatever, but you have to watch out for this guy. Okay, he's moving differently. Do not underestimate him for a second. And he's right. He is right. And even, at this point, the Brofilankos, but Shanks is still trying to stop Blackbeard to some capacity, or like, be where Blackbeard is, and he's just missing him.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting, and I think it's gonna be even better when Blackbeard kills Shanks.
Yeah. Oh God, I hope that doesn't happen. We'll see though. I know you're determined on like that line of thought. I don't see that happening.
Bro, I want them to like get to a fight, and you see, I don't even want them. I don't even need to see them fight. Right? Okay, you can off screen it. Okay, but I want them to scrap a little bit. Okay, and then it's a thing where Straw Hats are going to the next place, and they're like, oh, Luffy's like, I'm gonna finally meet up with Shanks. Okay, and then he gets there, and the ship's destroyed. Most of the crew is taken out. Shanks is dead. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, that would be absolute absolute cinema right there. If they rolled up and it's it's already too late. You can't return the hat. You can't return the hat.
That would be interesting.
You can't, and the thing is, you can't return the hat because you actually you can only pass it. You can only pass it on. That's the real thing with the hat. You can't ever return it. You got to pass it on to the
Next generation.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I don't know, man. That would be a crazy series of events. I don't know. I mean, Blackbeard is clearly far more calculated than characters in the story understand, right? And he gives off this impression of like, I'm just a goofball, guys. Don't need to take me serious. I'm just having fun over here. Yeah. Like, and then like he does stuff and people are like, oh no, whoa, what's going on? This guy's horrifying. Like, took Whitebeard's powers and immediately started cracking stuff. Immediately. Like, in the middle of a war, just like, nah, bro, knock this whole thing over. I'm like, what? You're gonna knock the whole thing over? Like, insane. Yeah. Blackbeard's that guy, man.
Yes.
He's really that guy. Very interesting character. Very entertaining. The fact that his ability makes him take more damage than normal. So he's always like in pain. Like he's got to get attacked by these. I'm like, I find all this very humorous. Like this dude is really entertaining.
I like his crew too.
Yeah, his crew is nasty, man. Solid sniper, solid doctor. Now his crews multiply because Pirate Island, a whole island full of pirates, he wants to turn into an independent nation.
I mean,
And
he even has the strongest man in the East, Don Krieg, on his side now. So what can he do?
Don Krieg. You know what's funny, bro? I was considering
Don Krieg?
Don Krieg for a little bit.
That's
Not for my
that's
top 10.
insanity.
Not for my top 10. Not for my top 10.
Number top 10. Okay.
Not for my top 10. But I was just thinking about him because, the conversation of One Piece villain. He was arguably one of Luffy's first hurdles. It's debatable. Some people might say it's Alveda, or I forget her name, Alvira or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, Don Krieg, man. That was one snaky pirate.
Yeah.
Using a lot of like, deceptive play and like very pirate-like combat. Where like you think you see my hand, but you actually don't see my hand. I'm doing things to give myself the upper hand in this fight because I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm tougher than you, I got better weapons. Like, what are you really gonna do to a guy like me? Like I did enjoy Don Krieg, but here we are. Like
I know, but
like
you even now do you believe
uh,
with maybe further development or context, do you think it's possible for Blackbeard to surpass Doflamingo? Are you too locked in?
I keep an open mind. Because clearly we know everything we're gonna know about Doflamingo. I don't think Doflamingo has anything left to share that we're not already in the loop about, other than possibly things to have to do with Mary Joie, which he may be more privy to.
Yeah, but that's just knowledge he has.
That's just
His
knowledge he
backstory
has.
is pretty thoroughly
His
like
backstory
covered.
is done.
Yeah,
And I think we have a pretty clear grasp on who he is. I think there's a lot of mystique around Blackbeard that we're not fully clear on just yet. We're not clear on what happened in between the time that he was born from Rocks and whoever Rocks had a kid with, or who the
yeah.
mom is, to the time when T tried to join Whitebeard's crew. There's a lot of ambiguity there. There's a lot of gap there. We're not really clear on.
Why can't
So
he sleep?
I'm excited
Yeah,
genuinely to learn more about Blackbeard. I can see that we're getting close to that point as we start to learn more about the Rocks Pirates. And it's been enjoyable. And so I think there's a possibility he may surpass Doflamingo to me, but it's gonna be tough. It's
it's
gonna be
pretty tough.
tough because
All right, speak your truth.
because
Number one, your number one pick. Speak your truth.
Dofi's number one. Dofi's my number one, man. I gotta give it to him. Doflamingo, from the first moment I saw him with that wide stance walk, and the flamingo feather, top, with the shades. It's just the swagger, and just like this energy of like you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned it earlier, Bait. This energy of like can't touch me,
Yeah,
like and like it's more than just his rank. It's more than just his heritage. The way he embodies the thought process behind his fruit it's more than just a power, right?
yeah. It's who.
Is more than that. I've never seen, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, I've never seen a character embody the personality that aligns with their fruit more than Dofi. I just haven't seen it.
I'd say maybe an L. I mean, or and maybe not more, but I'd say an L is.
Sure. And Nell's also in the conversation of a character whose fruit, lightning, you think of lightning, you're thinking of Greek gods, you think of Zeus, you think of like, and Nell puts himself on that podium, on that stage. Doflamingo, string power, puppet master, master. I don't think we got a bigger manipulator than Doflamingo in the story yet. We got some really good people to kind of move things around. Doflamingo was playing 4D chess for the majority of his storyline. Very strategic, very well thought out. And he's very ruthless, but not for ruthlessness' sake. It's because he has this complex based on his identity. And he had a father figure that tried to teach him that his identity doesn't give him the ability or the right to disrespect others and to mistreat others. And his father had a moral code, and the moral code got him killed.
Mm-hmm.
And Doflamingo observed this, and it helped to guide his emotions and his thought process and led him to become what he turned into. And one could say, in the same way I think you shared, that he succeeded where Crocodile failed, but he succeeded in a very extreme way. Like he used the abilities of his crew and manipulated situations towards his benefit. Very well thought out. Like the idea of turning certain citizens into toys and making them forgotten, essentially. Incredibly genius way of
Yeah.
utilizing the powers of members of his crew. Let me take the king and have the king destroy his own country, right? Very well thought out, very strategic choices. This one person that might be able to be able to stop what I'm doing. This one soldier, he's really strong. He's really valiant. He's well respected. He's loved and adored by the people. What if I made him a memory that no one can recall?
Yes.
Bro, like I love a good villain, as you've heard me say earlier in this pod.
He's also like you can argue that Doflamingo is he's both a good villain, but he's a victim of his own circumstances without being like overly sympathetic, right? Because like Doflamingo, I would say, is as much it's his own choices, and but it's not Doflamingo's fault that he was born in Mirajois and he was raised to look at people as lesser and to want slaves and all sort of stuff, right? But then again, when he got to the surface, it was not his fault necessarily that everyone wanted to kill him because of his heritage, right? And it was not his, and even after the events when he was basically his whole family was like lynched um because of being a celestial dragon, and he activated Conqueror's Hockey. From there, what really kickstarted like Doflamingo, and what made Doflamingo, as you brought up, was his crew. Even as a young kid, he was groomed to be where he was. Right, Treble was there in his ear from a very young age, guiding him to be as big of a villain he was. The fact that he had all these crew guys who would just go with him without question and do all these awful things in his name, even as a young person. even as a child, is what made him who he was. What I find very interesting about Doflamingo, though, is even though he had all this power and he had all this confidence and stuff, he never really. He was always smart, really, really smart at it, right? Because even though he could very easily be a character who's like, well, I've never lost a fight and I've never done this and I'm super arrogant, like an L, right? But at the same time, Doflamingo knows his place, right? He knows where he fits in the grand scheme of the world. He wants more, but he knows where he fits at the current juncture. I find that super interesting because he's not he could very easily be a character who's like, yes, I'm so divine and I'm a god, can't you see? Da, da, da. But he knows where he sits. And you see his confidence in where he sits. But at the same time, he knows when to pull back too. Right. He's not gonna step wild to anyone. You know. When Aokiji showed up when he was gonna kill Smoker, he knew he was all right. Okay, all right. I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna back off. Because I'm not gonna step to Aokiji and get killed instantly.
Get my body frozen and then chipped.
Yeah. So he knows. Like, I think that's the most interesting part about him because there's not a part in his backstory where it's like, oh, he was so confident, then he ran. He never had like a crocodile moment where he ran into Whitebeard and got beaten, and then just was like, oh, now I'm this. I think he always kind of knew he'd be a very good gauge at what his power was, and made the most of it, and was able to have reach and punch far beyond what his power was. I think that's the most interesting part about Doflamingo is the fact that he's able to reach right and pull the strings on so much more than you'd think for a person of his power level, because if you look at it just from power scale whatever, it's like, I mean, somebody of his power could just easily be another guy on a Yonko crew, right? But he's not. He could very easily be like the queen on Kaido's crew, right? Queen or king, right? I think that's probably where he would sit, or maybe even Jack. But he could just be another guy, on Kaido's crew, but he's not. He has his own empire. He has his own thing. He's running all the guns and the weapons in the underworld, and he's doing the smiles, and he has all these different projects going on. He has all these government connections and the bases and stuff. And I think that is that really makes him a really interesting villain.
Yeah. Even there's a lot of pieces. I could wax poetic about Doflamingo for quite some time, but I am drawn to his connection with Law a lot as well.
Yes.
Law's emotional state as a child based on horrific events in Law's life and how he was drawn to Doflamingo's crew and proving himself with Doflamingo's crew, and then builds a bond with Doflamingo's brother, Corazon, and how Law ends up wanting to become a doctor and use the abilities that he's gotten from the Op fruit to protect people that he cares about. And how he narrowly escapes Doflamingo, narrowly escapes him as a child, and then returns with the desire for the smoke. It says, I'm willing to join up with you, Luffy. I am. But we need to work out a plan to take this guy out. I want to take this guy out. This is important. We gotta cook something up. And Luffy agrees. Luffy's down. He's like, yeah, let's do it.
He doesn't even know Doflamingo, but
he just, he sees his man's here. He's like, yo, let's work something out. You got a plan? I'm with your plan. Let's do the plan. And the scene where he's about to step on Law and Luffy catches his foot. There's just so many tough.
And Doflamingo is such a villain that, I think Luffy was rather ambivalent on him, but it took Luffy being in Dressrosa for about 2 hours before he was like, no, this guy gotta go.
Yeah.
He's gotta go.
This is bad.
It's bad. And yeah, like I said, I also got show like I said before, Doflamingo, like he maintains frame even when losing. He's able to maintain a certain level of composure, even as the glasses and whatever is smashed off his face. As he collides into the ground,
Yeah.
he's able to maintain a certain level of like he doesn't go out sad, right? He's not screaming or crying
No.
or all the other things.
The dragons don't cry.
I would say I could compare Doflamingo to another villain I've talked about. I compare him a lot to Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I think he's like another highly arrogant villain, kind of tragic backstory. He's risen, right, and he has this kind of aura about him, and this like I'm just better than everyone else,
Yeah.
right. At the same time, he can recognize like a threat, when he sees it. Well, I'll say like when the difference between like Dio and Doflamingo is when you can tell when Dio is spooked, right? Dio will get spooked, and Dio will move in a very rat-like way.
Yeah.
When he is like on the ropes, right? He still has that like I'm a I'm a poor boy from the rough side of London, in him. And, like when you see him, when he gets just a hint that like Jotaro could stop time, he gets like super jumpy and frazzled and kind of extra thing. Like Doflamingo, on the other hand, when he gets really bad news or he gets something that's very frazzled, he'll have a moment, he'll kind of do the
his face turns like
he'll scrunch his face, or he'll do like this is really bad for me. But he is able to maintain frame.
Yeah.
And even when losing, right, even when chained up, he's able to maintain actually, this isn't a loss for me. I didn't really lose, actually this is cool. Things are going to be interesting now. I'm not crying. I'm laughing, actually.
That's why he's the Joker.
That's why he's the Joker. So he's able to maintain that in a way that I would say not even a whole lot of like other One Piece villains have. It's that smugness that makes me. It's why I want him gone.
And you know what? I think when the villain has reached a point where even you, as an observer, feel a sense of disdain toward him, he deserves a crown.
Yeah, I can be convinced. I think when we establish our like top 10, I think I can put Doflamingo up one. As much it hurts. Because I think with Doflamingo is like, even though he lost everything, and his crew's in jail, and he's in jail, and he doesn't have a kingdom anymore, and he's on a warlord and all that stuff. The job's not finished. The job's not finished. Okay.
Kobe, he's got Mamba mentality.
Yeah, job's not finished. It won't be finished. Won't be finished until he is sad. Okay, I don't want that man to smile anymore. Okay,
that would be tough, bro.
So
this man smiles through a lot.
He smiles through a lot. Yeah,
through a lot.
He's laughing. He is laughing his way through the pain, but I don't want that man to be happy.
He's quite a character, man. I genuinely feel like if you need a reason to watch One Piece, bro, and you like a good villain, Doflamingo, he may be worth your watch. To be candid.
But if you are interested in One Piece, here's my recommendation: don't watch Dressrosa. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Read the manga, okay? Just read the manga. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, okay? Please.
So many good moments in Dressrosa, though.
Yeah, I know. This man is a crazy person who I think he watched all of Dressrosa, which is insane.
Watched and read. Yeah.
And psychotic. Don't follow his footsteps.
Hey, it was the pandemic. I had all the time in the world.
All the time? Okay. All right. Okay, so let's go. Let's just talk about. This is gonna be me and your synthesizer is probably cut from recording.
Fair enough.
Okay, like top 10. What are you thinking? I feel, probably.
I feel like our top three are the same, right?
Yeah, so it's gonna be like Doflamingo, Blackbeard, Crocodile.
Yeah.
Right. Now, who's your number 4?
I had Akainu at number 4.
I think I have an L.
Yeah.
See, that's the other thing. I'm surprised
you put Enel above the murderer of Ace.
I took it, and Enel just had more reach. It's one of those Akainu's doing a lot, but he's not done yet.
Enel had more reach.
And that, like, I'll say, Enel's impact on the story, like the larger story, is not as great as most characters on the list. He's not, right? He's very self-contained. But for what he does within the self-contained story, very good. Like, he's an extremely good villain for that arc. And I would say if One Piece never got the same like size and scope, right, that it has had and has kind of bloomed into, then I think maybe like Enel would be would stand out more. But I think for what he does, he's really good. And like, was Enel on your top 10?
He wasn't even on my top 10 at all.
See, then that's that thing. I think at the very least, Enel should be in the top 10.
You know what I'm willing to do though? Here's what I'm willing to do.
Okay,
I'm willing to bump out Magellan and make some adjustments because I do feel like I feel a way about it though, because I feel like Enel didn't pose as much of a threat to Luffy as Magellan.
Well, yeah, I know, but I don't think that's why Enel's great. Like because I think part of the big thing about Enel was the fact that in spite of being a god, in spite of being able to just run over every single character in Skypiea, right? From Sanji to Zoro to Robin to like Viper to everybody in Skypiea, he's able to just run right over them, right? He is just beaten by Luffy just because of like type advantage, right? In that moment, that moment when Al realizes his power is just at work on Luffy like that, and he has a like shocked face, is incredible. I think it's a very incredible moment. It's a really big standout moment. But if that's all Enel had, then I'd be like, okay, whatever, right? But then Enel's like, he recovers and all right, okay, I gotta kick it up a gear, right? And then he still was able to fight Luffy, and he's still able to do damage, still able to move past it, even though he's at this disadvantage, right? And it just means something to me, especially when you have things like when Luffy grabs like the big golden belt and takes on out. That means something to me, right?
That was a pretty big moment.
It's a pretty big moment, and I think Skypiea is a fantastic arc. That's like underrated.
Yes,
in general,
I think it's the least enjoyed arc of One Piece.
It's so, and the irony is it aged like fine wine, right?
Yeah, no, people will tell you to skip Skypiea when you're watching and reading.
As you progress, it becomes more and more outrageous. The idea that you never
it's filler. It's not filler.
But Enel is just like, and in his presence, he feels so omnipresent, right? When he says he's a god, he feels that way in a way that like other characters don't. Even more powerful characters, right? Because of how his powers work, his observation hockey, and all the other stuff, you feel like, he's everywhere, right? When you have things where people are having conversations on a whole different part of the island, and he can hear.
He wipes out people.
And he can hear and he can perceive and he can do something about that. That is like a whole different level especially when it comes to like what he can do and that like oppressive kind of, and and I think it's both the arrogance and the fact that Enel has these limitations. And especially Enel can't even comprehend, right, that he's on top, right? When Luffy tells him like, hey man, there's other people in the sea that like mopped the floor with you. He's like, that's like that can't be true. Like, so there's no way. Like, I'm the best. I think that's so like interesting.
You're ranking him based on the experience he creates for the citizens of Skypiea, bravado.
Yes.
His stick-to-itiveness, we'll call it,
and what he does
a natural counter.
What he does in the story of Skypiea. Okay. What he does just for When you take like Skypiea, just as an arc separated from everyone, and Skypiea is very self-contained, anyways. He is in like an almost perfect arc feeling, right? He is ever present. He's set up very well. He is, taken down very well. Very, very satisfying to see him being. He has a good send off and ending, right? And before, I'll say this before the cover story, right? I just thought L died, right? I thought when he was when you get the last shot of him in the Arc Maxim and he's going to the moon, I thought that was like, not knowing anything about space or space travel, and he's killing himself. Right. I thought that was the ending of like his arc. But then he goes to the moon, he has like moon adventures, which are which actually provide even more interesting lore for the story, and we can't wait for an L to come back any minute now.
Yeah, back from the moon.
He'll return.
Right on a rocket ship. So you have him at year 4.
Yeah.
And I have the head of the
No, I know that like because of just how averages work, me having him at 4 and you having him at nothing means that there will have to be a compromise that takes place here.
But I did say I'd be willing to add him to my top 10 list. I have to drop Magellan.
Well, we have our personal. I think we have our personal top 10 lists, right? But
yeah,
this is our combined top 10.
Combined top 10. I don't know, man.
Because like I will say for my list, I'm dropping, which I didn't really get a chance to advocate for, but I'll be dropping like Zephyr and Hody probably, right?
Yeah.
This is my chance to do my Hody on sidebar here. Extremely underrated.
Hody Jones.
Extremely underrated. I like Hody Jones. I know a lot of people may not be the biggest fans of Fishman Island.
Why would you not be a big fan of Fishman Island?
Hey man, sorry, did not do it the best. Fishman Island. But I'll say Fishman Island is the one time where all the Straw Hats post time skip got the flex.
Yeah. It's also an indicator of the civil rights movement, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yes, and I think Hody Jones' backstory in there is really strong. And I think the fact that what always will solidify Hody Jones to me as a villain is when I forget his name is the son, the prince.
One of the princes, one of the three princes.
One of the three princes. He's like holding him down. It's Cody, why do you hate the humans so much? What did the humans do to you? Right? And he's like, nothing. Like I've actually he's never really interacted with people. Like ever. Right? But he has so much hatred in his heart for humans, and he is willing to put his life on the line and to put the lives of his fishermen on the line, and to say we have to do this violent uprising immediately because he was taught hatred from the people who experienced firsthand, right, the pain of the discrimination from humans. And the fishermen still do. I'll say, you can make an argument here is even though Hody Jones never, quote unquote, experienced human discrimination, right? The fact that Hody Jones lives on Fishman Island, and Fishman Island is at the bottom of the ocean, and the fishermen that would have the same access to the sun, and fishermen have all the different things. He's already experienced human discrimination without actually ever doing human
interacting with humans. Yeah.
Yeah. He lives in the basically the fisherman ghettos. So he's already in the way that like somebody from like I'll say like somebody from like Oblock can have a disdain for like white people without ever meeting a white person. They've already experienced the discrimination and racism without even having to interact with anybody, right? Just because it's systemic, right?
Yeah.
He's experienced these systemic issues, and the fact that he was taught by Arlong and the other ex-Sun pirates, who were a lot of them experienced slavery directly. And the whole backstory of the Sun Pirates is like so excellent. It's one of the best backstories. One Piece. That's why I can never hate Fishman Island. is because it has some of the best stuff like in One Piece. And I think it's a really, what he represents. And I say, well, Hodi's character may not be the best, right? What he represents and is emblematic of, right? And the fact that he's this hollow vessel for hatred, I think is very compelling.
I'd put Arlong above Hody. Like,
Really?
yeah, I didn't have Hody on my list either. But I talking villains.
Yeah.
From Fishman Island, the emotional impact of what Arlong meant to the Straw Hats specifically, I put him above. I just do. Like, what Arlong did to Nami and her family,
Mm-hmm.
and the way he turned her town upside down, the way he crafted who she turned into. Because she was just a girl who loved navigation. Like, she was never like, Arlong turned her into that. He was like, the only thing that matters is money. Like, you're going to earn money for me. And Arlong shaped who Nami became, which not many villains in the story can say that about a member of the Straw Hats. Actually, when I think about it.
I mean, there's Judge.
Yep. Judge.
Spanned him, kind of.
Kind of. I might say the world government as an entity against Nico Robin. So there's not one specific person. It was a collective decision from the government. And Arlong. Like, Arlong's in that conversation. And he's one of the few solo entities that had such a heavy impact on the personality, right? Like, Nico Robin went through trauma, and the trauma shaped her to an extent. But it did, like, she's not defined by her trauma, right? Nami is the cat burglar. Like, that is her thing. Like Nico Robin's an archaeologist. Like, she would have done that if her island was destroyed or not. She would have still,
but
would still
Nami,
been a passion.
Nami being a thief is a direct result of
It's a direct result of Arlong. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Arlong is such an impactful character, more so than I think most other villains, even on my list. So I found it interesting that you put Hody above Arlong.
Yeah, I can cut Hody, and as much as I love Big Z, I can cut Zephyr too. I really like Zephyr. I really like his backstory. An admiral that kind of went too far and is still trying to fight this fight. And I think to some extent, I don't even know if Zephyr wants his plan to work, right? His plan of like, you know what, I'll just nuke the new world, basically, so no one has it. And I don't even know if Zephyr actually wants his plan to go through.
Yeah.
He could have probably done it without inviting different things. But at the same time, I think Zephyr just wanted to have a more noble end than where he was headed. And even then, he had other options. Like, he had a person on his crew that grew reverse ages, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And I think he was just an old man that was trying to go out on his own terms.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it very, very compelling. And I will always, like, I would say one of my top One Piece moments is, when all the Marines are singing, they're doing the song, as Zephyr is lit up by, figuratively, literally, like his room. I think that's a very compelling moment.
Yeah. I understand your perspective on that. Makes sense. Zephyr is an interesting character.
All right, so our official top 10, we've managed to synthesize our lists and counting down from bottom to top. This is our Peak of Fiction official top 10 One Piece villains. Sitting at number 10, you're going to have Emu. As a great samurai has explained, what they've done so far has already been incredible, and we're just looking forward to see what else they have in their pack. We don't know yet, but we're excited. It can only go up. And there's a very good chance that if you check back with us in a couple of years, you may have already cracked top 5. At number 9, this is after much consideration from Gray, we have Kanjuro, which I never expected Kanjuro to be in any top 10, but his argument was extremely convincing to me. And
Conjuro deserves to be here, people. The betrayal play that you've heard us dive deep into it. It is top tier in fiction. I'm not even gonna say just in One Piece. In fiction, the finesse, the play that we could read if we were paying close enough attention, that was revealed to us in the end. Masterfully written, top tier villain. He deserves to be on this list.
For sure. All right, at number 8, I believe we have Kaido.
Yeah,
Kaido's number 8. Very significant villain. Did a lot of damage. Like probably one of the best fights in the series. But he's just lacking a couple elements that keep him from like the top 5. Maybe we'll get some more backstory elements that really bring them all together. But so far, what was presented is
it's not enough.
Just not enough. I've been followed up with Big Mom at number 7. Very compelling, and I think we maybe a little back and forth, but I would say she has such a large impact, and especially for family dynamics, both as, a force of chaos, but yet the scheming kind of abusive parent is a very compelling villain. At number 6, we have Katakuri. Yes.
Katakuri.
We have Katakuri. And he is probably one of the best just physical forces in terms of just boxing of Luffy, and really pushing the brink and pushing onwards. I think it's great. Described his code of chivalry and honor and his dedication to, his family really makes him stand out in the villains. And he's one of the best noble villain types that we've seen from One Piece. And then we're entering our top 5. So sitting at number 5, we have the god of Skypiea in Owl. And this took a lot of convincing because I don't think NL was on Gray's top 5 at all. But from why I bring it, I think for what he does for Skypiea, he's an amazing villain. He's an amazing villain, amazing presence, and he dominates that entire island and that entire landscape, and especially from the beginning of it. Makes you feel like he is some kind of deity, or malignant deity that is taking control of the entire nation. He definitely syncs up the 5 spot pretty well.
Yeah. While I originally did not have him on my list, BaitZaDust definitely did give some convincing arguments for why he deserved to be up here. To be candid, many people will direct you to skip Skypiea. You never should. It is actually a really good arc, and it definitely gives a very menacing, overarching feeling of this person is in control of everything, knows everything going on. He's wiping out people for speaking poorly about him. How is he hearing me? How does he know what's going on? Like, he truly does know all. And it did feel frightening to kind of be in that space with the citizens of Skypiea during that arc. So I've reconsidered my selection, and we've placed him in his proper location in the top 5.
And moving up a couple of spots, we have Akainu in number 4. I mean, he is the fleet admiral. He has had a massive impact on Luffy, our main character, on the world. He gave Luffy the scar. He killed Luffy's brother. He's done so much, and he has probably another transformation left in him to go. And his sense of absolute justice will have a larger effect on the story. We're excited to see what Akainu can do and how he develops.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Akainu's character is, of the members within the Navy, easily one of the most unsettling. And that's because his concept of absolute justice is that there is no such thing as a good pirate. And so even though for the majority of the story of the One Piece saga, you see all these different types of pirates. Pirates with good intentions, pirates with negative intentions. He kind of has a blanket view of the entire group. He wanted to abolish the warlord order for the entire time because he felt like there was no such thing as a pirate that deserved immunity from the Navy, and kind of like he had his own views on a lot of those things. And so it's interesting to kind of see how he's turned into this horrifying presence for the MC. And so that's why he definitely earned a spot in our top 4.
And before we get to our top 3, we can talk about some of our honorable mentions. Those that didn't quite make the cut or we haven't really talked about yet so far. Shout out to Buggy, Clown.
Yeah.
We love you, Buggy.
We love you, Buggy, for sure.
He's great. He's great, but he's not top 10 villain material. He hasn't been so in many years. I guess that's what it is. Caesar, also Caesar the Clown. Really fun, really interesting, but like he's a minor antagonist. You know, he don't really have a lot going on. He's a side guy to a different guy. Sorry. And you know, I think those are my honorable mentions in terms of like, you know, also Rob Lucci. Is the biggest like honorable mention. Hey, I mean, he went hard. His fruit's cool. He gave some good fights in Egghead, but I mean, he just wants to fight, man. You know, I'll say that. And what do you think is the worst villain in One Piece? Right?
As in, like the most despicable or the most poorly written?
No, the most poorly written. Like the most like, you know, you could toss him in the garbage.
That's tough.
It's actually incredible.
Bellamy?
No. Bellamy is he serves a larger purpose, right? He's a tool.
Yes.
I wouldn't even call him.
You feel like a tool doesn't disqualify you.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll say Foxy.
Yeah, Foxy kind of stinks, doesn't he? I know Davy backfights have reappeared, so you know Foxy fans feel more vindicated.
Yeah. Oh man, Davy backfights making an appearance where they are in the story right now.
It's just
now.
Yeah, but like stinks. He stinks.
It's so bad.
The last time we saw Foxy was like he is like practically homeless. So no, man, he ain't it. I'll say even worse than Foxy. At least Foxy is kind of memorable. Is Captain Corello 1,000 Plans?
Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah.
Trash. Oh yeah, you're 1,000.
With the
just very very silly. A very unserious man.
With the footwork.
Yeah, the footwork and stuff. Just. He did all that, bro. He faked his death and got a job as a butler just to like do like a scam, right?
Yeah.
To do it, not even like that. Not even that good of a scam. Like,
it almost worked though.
Yeah, but like have some like self-respect. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Captain Carrillo, and he's one of the few villains that has never shown up again.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He stinks. Straight up, he stinks.
That's fair. All right. I gotta share some honorable mentions myself. I gotta do it. On my list, I gotta add Arlong.
Arlong, yeah.
Arlong deserves to be mentioned. I'll be honest, when I was getting to that arc in One Piece, you get to that arc pretty early in the story. Watching what he did to Arlong's to Nami's mom, watching what he did to the town, seeing how he manipulated Nami towards his own ends, and just the scene where she tries to cut her tattoo off of her skin because of how much pain she feels that she's branded herself by the person that destroyed her life. And the scene where she begs Luffy for help is probably what one could argue in the top 5 most iconic scenes in all of One Piece.
If you made it to Arlong Park, and you see that moment where Luffy, you know, where Nami, you know, like says, "Help me," and Luffy puts a hat on, you know, it's like, "Of course I will," and you see all the guys posed up, you know, they're all posed up ready, and you hear the ba 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 ba, and you're not moved, then One Piece is not for you. It's not for you. Just give up. Just like honestly, if you've made it that far and you are not hyped, then experiment failed. It's not for you.
Yeah.
You know,
watch something else.
Watch someone else. But
it's okay.
That's just
peak. That's peak.
It really is. Peak. It really is peak.
Arlong is a part of peak, and I think if you're a part of peak, you deserve to be mentioned You deserve to be mentioned in these spaces. I do want to also give an honorable mention to Orochi. Yeah, I want to give it. I want to give an honorable mention to Orochi. He's not an honorable man, but I'm gonna give him an honorable mention. Orochi, Orochi is prime scumbag material. Prime scumbag
What's my
material.
problem with Orochi?
Okay, what's your problem with Orochi?
I don't even feel like Orochi was that smart.
I agree.
Orochi just got away with it because everyone was kind of stupid in Wano. Everyone was kind of dumb in the Wano flashback and just too permissive.
I don't think everyone was dumb though.
Not everyone, but
I think Orochi knew who to play.
Yeah, but like there gets to a point where I think like they're aware that Orochi is unlying, to cursing people, and then everyone kind of has it's probably not gonna be a big deal. He's just doing a little light impersonation of a royal. It's probably fine, and it was not fine, right?
So more so, your weight of blame lies to people around Orochi, but not Orochi himself.
Yes, and I feel like it was not testament to Orochi's like true scheming or genius if everyone has to be a little bit dumb for it to work. Right.
I mean, I hear you, but I feel like Orochi I think there's something to be said. And this is a deeper conversation. We don't have to have it right now. I think there's something to be said for the cowards of One Piece. There's something to be said for the cowards of One Piece. I include Orochi in that conversation. I include, there's some characters that are just, by nature, cowardly. And in moments where their back is against the wall and they bite, the bite is usually pretty hard, right? Orochi was so afraid of this prophecy. And he built this whole thing to counter the prophecy from happening. He strategized with a traitor for an insane amount of time, right? It's just all part of his very elaborate plan to prevent his own downfall. And his paranoia proved to bear fruit. I think there's something to be said for the cowards of One Piece. I might even go so far as to say Usopp in that conversation, right?
Yeah, Usopp's coward. I would say he's not. Yeah, I would say a good scheming coward is somebody who's able to. I gotta feel like they have a better control on the levers that they're pulling, and I want to feel that their scheming is the things that happen is a result of their intelligence and scheming, and I felt like the things that happened to Orochi was more the result of poor writing, than whatever he was displaying. I get what Oda was going for. I don't think it was executed particularly well.
That's fair. Like I said, he's not on my top 10.
He's honorable,
but I have to give him an honorable mention purely because of how well his scheme worked. His scheme worked so well, and like you said, right, his scheme worked so well because of other people not being privy to certain things, and I think not thinking through certain things, not taking him seriously. But once he was the man in charge, he turned the most respected man in that land into a fool. He turned him into his own personal court jester. He knew who he could use, and I feel like that there's an element of intelligence to that. He might not be a strategist like Doflamingo, but there's a level of intelligence to being observant enough to know who can I use, who can I not, who's strong, how can I take advantage of their strength, how can I have this person on my side, how can I have this person back me, this person seems like they would be useful to me, how can I make them owe me something? Just very calculated. Now, he's not the smartest character in One Piece, not even by a long shot, but he definitely deserves an honorable mention for what he was able to pull off. I respect Orochi's craft. I can understand how people feel differently, but I respect Orochi's craft.
And also, I gotta do one last honorable mention to Kizaru. If we're talking about complicated, complex villains, he is, and I think he lacks kind of the bite that you want in a villain, because his villainy comes from his willingness to work within a system that he does not believe in, that he has clear ideological problems with, that he knows is evil, but he's just like, oh well, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, right? I'm just gonna show up, I'm gonna do my job, even though I know I'm doing this morally bankrupt. It's still my job, right? And I think that's so interesting, which for someone as powerful as Kizaru, to be like, well, hey, like I don't like this any more than you do, but I have to go kill my friends. Um, and at the
Poor
same time,
Kizaru, bro.
he,
Poor
he,
Salino's going through it, man.
he doesn't want to. He
He doesn't
he
want to.
he doesn't want to, and he's both trying to subtly create a situation where he doesn't have to, right? But at the same time, when it comes time, to do it, he'll do it. And I think it's very compelling. He's a very compelling, very sad character, and
Bro,
he was not able.
Egghead was so painful, man.
He was not able to do the breakaway that Aokiji was able to do, and he's not committed to it like Akainu is. So he's just this kind of like in between guy, and it's a very sad situation that he finds himself in.
Even the scene, and it's this to me was the scene that hit the hardest when Akainu calls him and talks to him about, did you finish the job? Did you take care of it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you took care of it. And Borsellino has to have the convo with him, like, well, these are my friends. Like, you just gave me the order to take out the people I care about. You want it done? You come here and do it yourself.
Yeah. If you have a problem with how I handled it, then like you can done, but
Yeah, you do it. I'm just like, ooh, that's what I was waiting for. Poor Sully. All right, is one of my favorite. I'm happy you brought him up. I struggle with calling him a villain because
he's an antagonist.
He's an antagonist. And it's challenging for me to say that his motivations are sinister. I mean, like I observe the way he moves, and I know he's doing things out of a sense of duty, not out of a sense of I hate pirates, not out of a sense of I'm operating on my own agenda. He's not allowed to have an agenda. He moves like a soldier, but he's a human. He has emotions. He has feelings. He has people he cares for. He has family. His family on this island. He was told to take out his family. Sick work. Sick work. But he's a man of his word. He does what he's supposed to do. At the same time, though, he tries to take advantage of opportunities that are given to him to still protect the people and the things that he cares for. He's a very well-written character, and I respect him being in the honorable mention category for sure.
And I don't know if this is. I mean, I guess these folks are barely in the honorable mention in my eyes. Say, they're evil. I guess I don't know. They're kind of they lost a lot. They lost a lot of aura points in Egghead, and are surprisingly ineffectual for being, the leader of the world, underneath Eam and having all these crazy powers. We're not able to stop a broadcast and not able to subdue the Straw Hats. They're very incapable. They were very incapable of doing any of their goals, and it was bad luck.
Yeah, but think about who they were up against.
Yeah, I hear you, but like,
who was there on the broadcast?
Here's my thing. Like, and this is like a writing. This is a writing thing, right? And this is a free writing for writing tip to everybody.
Can I share a writing tip with Oda?
Yeah, for Oda. Oda, if you're listening, also if you want to write peak.
Oh my god.
Put your higher up main antagonists in a situation where they can look bad before, like, a major event. Just don't do that. I think they were just put in a situation where they kind of had to lose, right? And there was no way that they were to be able to lose while looking goofy in this situation, right? Because, yeah, sure, they were up against, like, Luffy, who's strong, right? And then the Giants. But, like, they're like hundreds of years old, magical creatures with all these busted powers who've held power for all this long, and they have these crazy entrances. They can do all this crazy stuff. and they're getting like tossed around and flipped and turned around by like Dorian Broggy. That's embarrassing, dog. There's no way to flip. That's just embarrassing for you to have for that to happen to you. Um, and the fact that like these guys who are
They're
more
Orphan for like the whole
yeah,
series.
these guys are
All
supposed to
things
be more
considered.
endgame threats. I guess maybe they're not. I guess maybe they're just not endgame threats. They're supposed to be more endgame threats, and they're taking decent hits or getting repelled, right, by like Sanji and Zoro, right? And like normally I wouldn't have a problem with that, but it's just like, what are these guys? Are these guys just glorified Yonko commanders, right? Could do I see a situation where like Marco could be like Fista go stall the Gorosei? Maybe, maybe. And
Insane.
but like I'm just saying from what I've seen, they weren't impressive. The thing about it is they'll probably have more fights more than they do later on. But if they do something crazy later on, then you're gonna like scratch your head and say, wait a minute, if you could do this the whole time, then how come you were so sorry on Egghead? Right? And that's because they were put into a situation where they just could not function. Right? They could look cool, but they still had to lose. And the way they lost just was not endearing towards them.
Mm.
It was a very bad showing. It was a very bad showing, and especially for your first time showing a villain. You want your first time showing a villain to be powerful and impactful. And if you're not doing that, then like, what
Yeah, especially because they hyped him. Like they're like, "Oh, we're sending one of the elders on this shit.
yes.
Like he's headed to Egghead. Like he's really like that. Like we're gonna all be in trouble. We all gotta follow this guy's order." Like there was a lot of fanfare around Garcia, Saint Saturn Garcia. So yeah, it was interesting. All right, one more honorable mention. I gotta give Mihawk an honorable mention.
He's not a villain.
He's an antagonist.
I guess.
He's an antagonist.
Very briefly. For about 3
Yeah.
minutes.
Not for 3 minutes. Stop that. Ridiculous. His early attack on Zoro was an impactful part of the story.
Yeah.
I think his role he did end up playing a role.
You better not say Marineford.
Why not?
But he didn't do nothing.
What do you mean? He was at Marineford.
Yeah,
He was present.
You're right. He was there. He signed. He hit the attendance sheet. He didn't do anything at Marineford.
No, he fought some people. He was strong.
He got some ice.
He was up against some very strong opponents, though.
You're right. He was up against the flower swordsman Vista.
That's it. And he didn't destroy him like we were all expecting the strongest swordsman in One Piece too. But it was fine because when he was on his little island getting some reading done, and Zoro shows up, he put Zoro through his paces. Mihawk is to Zoro what Riley was to Luffy, and that he was able to level him up to a great deal, but left him in a state where he would never look the same. But I have a lot of respect for Mihawk. I like Mihawk a lot. And while he's not a villain, or he's like an evil person, he definitely was an antagonist for a few different pieces throughout the story until he wasn't, which is why I'm just mentioning him. I like him a lot.
So back to our list, top 3. The number 3, we both put him here. Crocodile. He's good. He's great. Drip strong. Power's great. We love him. It's just he's just slightly outclassed by these next 2 guys.
Yeah.
And after much consultation, we've determined that will be Blackbeard.
That's it, man.
I mean, Blackbeard's my number 1, but I think I was convinced. Blackbeard's great, but he has room to grow. Right? He still has room to grow, and he still has stuff like in his bag. But just our favorite, just sneaky, grimy pirate, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But number 1 is the one villainly. Don Quixote Doflamingo. He is the most villainous villain. Like he's such a great villain. I mean, people love his, like, I would say, we didn't even bring this up, but like his big Marine Ford quote, where he's his speech, when he's like, like the pirates are evil, the Marines are righteous, the Marines are justice. It's all a game. Whoever's a victor determines what justice is.
Such a cold quote, bro. It's such a cold quote.
I mean, he has some very impeccable drip. He has a very interesting crew, amazing devil fruit,
amazing,
really great abilities, and he is such a good force. And I'll say, unlike, as we talked about the Gorosei, Oda never makes Doflamingo look bad. Right?
Yeah, at no point.
Even when he's losing, he doesn't look bad.
Look bad at all.
That's impressive. So the Doflamingo so far, as far as we're concerned, for Peak of Fiction, is top One Piece villain, and that is our official ranking. If you have anything, if you feel differently, leave a comment. Tell us what your top 10, One Piece villains are. If you hear more about One Piece, drop that too. But this is probably a very long video, but we hope you enjoyed it. If you came this far, once again, I'll say, leave a like, a comment, subscribe. The climbers are growing. We're gonna keep striving to climb that peak mountain. But thank you all for stopping by for another great episode, and for the inaugural episode of Peak 101.
Thank y'all for listening. Thank you so much for joining. Hope y'all enjoyed the show.
All right, see ya.